All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Sascha Eggenberger. I'm a senior product designer in the UX Papercuts team, and I want to talk about UX Papercuts today. So the UX Papercuts team, as you know, or as you might not know, we're a relatively new team. So I wanted first outline a few things if you're not so familiar with what we do and who we are. So this is Annabelle. This is Valerie, and this is myself. This is the whole UX Papercuts team for now. So it's the 3 designers, and we don't have engineering support so far. And we try to improve a lot of things in our product. So basically, you could say we look at high traffic area of our product and try to improve it. So each milestone has a theme. So I mentioned that we're relatively new, so everything is new for us, also like the process and how we work and what we would like to work on. And while working on our first milestone, we figured out that we would like to have like a theme per milestone so that we have like a broad, like view on things of which part of the product we would like to improve. Or which UX problems or issues we would like to solve in a given section of the product. So of 1510 of last milestones, theme was issuables. And so we basically try to improve things around issues, incidents, and epics. While the goal for 1511, like the current milestone, will be merge request UI. So this is my message to you. So everyone is welcome to add UX problems or issues or anything literally which bothers you or our users or our customers to add to our milestone meta issue. So for each milestone, we have a meta issue. And you're very welcome. So this is the one for 1511, by the way. I will leave that up for a few seconds. So you can literally go there and just add a comment with an issue or with a comment, what bothers you, and we will try to figure out if it fits the scope and the theme of our current milestone. And if so, we'll like to pick it up and try to solve it. We also like to check, so this was a great idea from Valerie, by the way. So we would also like to check frequently, like, like the likes of Twitter or Mastodon for UX issues. So people like to, present their issues on social media. So we would like to scan, like the news feeds there to see if we have any potential issues which could be easily be solvable. And then maybe once it's merged into the product, we can reach out to them and say, hey, we heard you, and here is actually like the fix for it. So to include like the community a bit better into what we do in terms of our team, that's a pretty great idea. So next up, I have a quick update regarding the UI polish gallery. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but it looks like this. And until now, we only had like the UI polish label. So it basically is a feed which like checks all the merge requests with a given label. Until now, it was just the UI polish label. And then it just presents you, if you have like a before and after image, it actually just like adds it to this list. So you have like a broad overview of issues we recently fixed. And we added some new features to the Polish gallery. So the first thing was we added the beautifying our UI label and also the UX Papercuts label. And the second thing was we added a new filter. So you can now filter by label. And you can also, like combine the two filters, like the milestone and the label filter. So if you're specifically looking for what the UX Papercuts team has done, you could potentially filter by milestone 1510 for the previous milestone and UX paper cuts, and then you have like a news feed of all the things we fixed in that given milestone. The next thing we would like to do, so I had a talk with Nicolas Doulard. So this is hosted on his personal GitLab space, and we would like to move the Polish gallery. Maybe we would like to rename also the gallery a bit to an official place. And we figured out that maybe papercuts.gitlab.io would be like the perfect spot for it. Once this transition has been done, I will announce it on the UX channel, so you will not miss it. And we might also redirect just like the old URL to the new one. So in case you bookmarked, Nicolas Doulard's Polish gallery. All right, let's move on to highlight some of the things we actually improved in 1510. The first thing I want to talk about is like unboxing widgets. If you know me and the work I've done in the previous milestones, you know that this is a big topic for me, and I wanted to do that for a very long time. So we finally managed to unbox all the widgets we have in issues, merge requests, and so on. And the first step actually was to streamline how those widgets look like, because we had like a lot of different styles going on. So we had like gray headers with buttons, we had white headers, we had gray content, we had gray content and white content, we had dividers, lines, we had boxes in boxes. So a lot of different stylings. So the obvious first step was to just, like streamline the look of all, like how the box look like, like the widget itself. And then from there, we actually went into like unboxing for here as example, like linked incidents and issues. So we removed like all the boxiness from this given widget and just try to tidy up everything. So if you have like a lot of linked issues, we can now, like show a lot more linked issues than before in the same space. The next thing was child issues and epics. So this one actually has like drag and drop support. So we also redesigned this widget a bit, like removed all the unnecessary boxiness of this element or this component, and also improved like the drag and drop styles so that you can actually better see what you're dragging. Then with like all those merge requests floating into the product, we also saw that we have quite some misalignments. So as you can see on the right side, for example, all the actions for removing or show like the, like showing more actions, the status and all those things were just slightly off-centered. So, it was pretty obvious to just trying to solve all the misalignments, all the different spacings. So we unified all the spacing, all the different styles. For example, for the header, we had like different weights for the header and stuff like that. So just like unifying the whole experience, like the whole appearance of all the different widgets. And this is the result. This is how it looks now, the cleaned up widgets. So the next thing I want to highlight is, like the issue header, issue and incidents, epic, and so on header. So for now, this is how it looks previous to 1510. And I want to highlight like this part. So the header, we had next to the meta information, we had like the close button and the more action button. And then on the height of the title, we actually had like the edit button. So we moved the edit button to where all the other buttons are located. This looks like a fairly small and, like straightforward change, but that was actually one of the biggest in that milestone because it involved a lot of code changes, spec changes, test changes. So even if it looks very simple, it was a pretty big change. The next step here would be that we align the header with what we did to merge requests, which is planned that we will work on that in 15.11. But maybe you will hear more about that later from Annabelle. So with that being changed, if you look at an incident, it's pretty obvious that we have a lot of dividers, especially that incidents also uses like like tabs. So we decided to just get rid of all the unnecessary borders in the header as well, just to clean up things a bit, right? The next thing was the timeline itself. So on issuables and also merge requests, you have like the timeline, which looks like this. And for system nodes, if you add labels or resources, or you're changing like the description or title, like all those changes actually had the same space or used the same space as like a comment. And we wanted to, just to make more use of the space. So, like to just increase the density a bit. So we decided to make the icon a bit smaller. Well, the icon size is still the same, but like the element is smaller, the spacing is a bit smaller. And if you recently checked Slack, there's also a conversation going on if we want to take that to the next level with like removing icons or even making more changes in that regard. One of the changes also related to issues and merge requests are labels. And the one thing I wanted to add from since I joined GitLab was actually adding a color picker. So if you create a new label, you can either choose like one of the given or the predefined colors, or you can just like provide a hex value. But if you're not an experienced user, you might want just to choose a random color. So we added a color picker, so you can easily choose the color you want, and off you go. Right, pretty simple, but a pretty efficient change here. The next thing, this didn't make it to 15.10. We're still working on that, and we will actually make that a theme for 16.0. So we'll work on improving like all different kind of lists. So just a sneak preview what we're working on. So this is like the issue list, for example, and we just wanted to try to improve those lists. So this is just like a interim solution. So this might not be the final one, but just like decreasing font sizes from all the meta information, and just like like moving some stuff around, that it's a bit easier to spot all the different contents we actually show in list items, and so on. So just a quick sneak preview what we're also working on. And as mentioned before, so the current milestone 15.11 is centered around merge request UI. If you have anything in mind you would like us to have a look at, feel free to add to this meta issue linked here. So the number is 394879. Just drop us a comment in that issue or reach out in Slack, whatever is best for you, and we will have a look at it. That's it. Thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks, Sascha. Are there any questions from the group here? I've actually got one to get us started here. I'm wondering how you work with the teams that are responsible for these areas that you are diving into. What is that process like?
That's a great question. So whenever we have like a DRI, we try to, well, if it's a very obvious issue that something doesn't work, which worked before, we just, it's a straightforward change. We just go ahead with it. Otherwise, we try to include like the DRIs for, for the given section. We do changes whenever possible. we haven't included the DRIs for all the changes so far, but as I mentioned, we're still a very young team, and we can improve a lot of things in our process. But we would like to include like the DRI in those decisions, like bigger changes, for example, in the future. But we also have like a lot of areas in the product which we currently don't have a DRI. So yeah, this might be the more interesting, like areas of the product going forward.
Gotcha. I think it would definitely be fun to participate in some of the visual design exploration that you've been doing. So I hope there are places for the wider group to contribute. But maybe that's part of the beautify exercise that we'll be talking about next.
Yes, that's also something I mentioned, right? So for now, we're just like designers who, like Annabelle and I both have some experience in writing code. But we don't have like a dedicated engineer, for example. So we're also a bit limited on what we actually can do. I think we can do a lot of changes, but maybe if they're like heavy or rely heavy on backend or like very deep front end changes, then it might be out of reach for now for us. But just to let you know.
Gotcha. Austin has a question here. Would you mind vocalizing that, Austin?
Yeah, Sascha, you mentioned that you and Annabelle were engaging more with the wider community on Twitter. I was curious, like, what that response has looked like. Have we seen positive responses? Oh, cool, designers are here hearing what we're saying, or has it been more quiet?
Oh, we don't know. I mean, we haven't done that yet. This is just like that was we just like the other day, Valerie came up with that idea, and we all figured that this is a great chance to like have some more community engagement. But also like it depends a bit on the type of feedback, and also like if we're actually if it's something we can actually solve. But yeah, like the process, we're not so sure about the process yet, but I can imagine that it looks like that we see like an issue, like somebody reports something which bothers them or like an issue, and then we might fix it. And once it's merged, we basically say, hey, we reach out and say, hey, we heard you and we fixed it. Here is the fix, right? So more towards that, but also it needs to be something we can reproduce, and also is something we see, is well, everything is worth fixing, but also maybe falls under the theme we're actually, like in the milestone. So yeah, a lot to be defined, I guess.
Okay, sweet, sounds good.
Maybe Valerie wants to add something to that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's too early. So we're 3-4 weeks in. So the expectation that any user would feel the change is probably too soon. But hopefully we'll start changing some of those negative responses into more positive appreciation for our UI.
Let's hope so. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions inside of our note stock. Does anyone else have anything else they want to ask before we switch over to Annabelle?
Not a question, but just hearing that it's only a few weeks and everything you showed is amazing. So like huge kudos to the team already. A lot of awesome work.
Absolutely.